Today we're going to talk about credit and some governmental regulations in credit and credit reporting. So you're right. So there's a couple of pieces of legislation or acts or laws that have been put into place. In 1968, there was the Truth in Lending Act that makes sure that you are fully aware of any terms and conditions and the full cost of borrowing money. Here's the Truth in Lending. So the banks and lenders have to fully disclose. That's why you'll see a lot of disclosure statements when you go in to get a loan or anything like that. The Fair Credit Reporting Act. This makes sure that the information on your credit check is private and secure and accurate. The Equal Opportunity Act of 1974. So you see these were in the late 60s and early 70s when we were really doing some major reforms on trying to make things fair and equal. So this Equal Opportunity Act prevents discrimination in giving credit. Much like other discrimination clauses and laws, it's discrimination that prohibits any kind of discrimination. So those were some laws to, for your benefit, but you do have some rights when it comes to credit. So if there is a mistake, the Fair Credit Billing Act, one of the things that it did was set up a quick correction of that error. So as soon as you notify the credit agency that there's an error, they are fairly quick to update that. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So this came into play in the late 70s when things go to collection, debt collection. These people often have a tendency, well, they can call you, right, to collect that debt. At the time, they were abusing that power to collect debts. They were coming to business. They were calling at all hours of the night, making more harassment phone calls, those kinds of things. And those practices were deemed unlawful then. Along with rights, there always are responsibilities, right? Your responsibilities as a debtor are to only borrow what you can repay and then repay the debt. Read and understand any documents that you sign, including your credit contracts or any loan applications and whatnot that you might sign. Pay your debts off. Pay them. That's the easiest way to not get into debt trouble is to pay off your debt. If you can't pay your debt, work with your creditor. Don't just stop paying. Call them, contact them, see if you can come up with some sort of repayment schedule. If you do lose or your credit card is stolen, do turn that in promptly. Be careful of scammers. especially now, be careful of how you're giving out your personal information, period. So how much can you afford? This is referred to as the 20% rule. Right? It involves your debt to income ratio. You should never spend more than 20% of your income, this would be after-tax income, on short-term credit purchases. So this would include your mortgage debt, because that's backed by the house, but your maximum would be 20%. Clearly, owing less is always better, right? So on your sheet, you have Michael's annual take-home income at $30,000. He's got a monthly debt payment of $250 in credit and car payment, credit card payment of $60 and $50, $120 student loan payment. Does he have a reasonable amount of debt? Well, again, to calculate this, we're going to add up all of his debts for a month. So his $250 car payment, his $60 credit card, his $50 credit card, and his $120 student loan. That gives him a total debt payment of $480. The next step, we're going to multiply that by 12 to get our annual debt payments. This would be how much money that we pay back every year. So we take our $480 that we got here, multiply that by 12, that gives us $5,760. We multiply our annual take-home pay by the 20%. So $30,000 times 20% is $6,000. So that is going to fall within, since the $5,760 is less than his $60,000 or his $6,000 max, he's okay for now, but he needs not take on any more debt, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of room between those two amounts. And that's your income and your 20% rule. Early next week, we'll start having our test. Again, like last time, it will be, you will have 2 opportunities to take that test and complete it.